For most, Monday starts with a feeling of regret and guilt. For me, this is how most weeks used to start out. I'd feel bad for enjoying some extra food and a couple of kronas at the weekend. And it got me thinking, how the fuck do we become hardwired to thinking that life is dictated by how low body fat we can be? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being lean for a few months and during the summer, but there's far more important things in life and in health and fitness that we can navigate towards. I guarantee you that the majority of your health and fitness instos who look diced, shredded and toned all feel at their worst when they look their best. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I want to talk about my process in terms of cutting and weight loss and the dangers of it over the last 10 months. Now there's 5 main points that I want to go over which I want you to consider when you are going into a cut or into a deficit or when you want to lose a considerable amount of weight. But there is also other things that I'm going to also cover, such as effects on appetite, training, eating disorders, sex drive, mindset, energy, your hormone levels, sleep, and a bunch of other juicy shit which most people won't talk about. Now I've been doing something pretty stupid and dangerous recently, and I've been in a cutting period quite aggressively for almost 10 months, and that was driven by a holiday that I went on not too long ago to Turkey, hair transplant. I went to Barcelona for IFS events, and then also next week I'm off to Australia for 6 weeks. And this is something that I often advise other people against, and it's something where I've kind of tested myself with, and I 100% wouldn't recommend this to anyone else, but I want to be 100% transparent with people and tell and show people what I've been through, because a lot of people I think within the fitness industry probably won't talk about these things that I'm going to talk about today when you see them in mega good shape on their Instagram page or their YouTube. Now there has been some time periods in between where I've been on holiday where I've been on slightly higher calories, but for the majority of the time, and especially coming towards this last period, I've only been on 1,700 calories. Now I'm not going to run through everything that I'm eating in a day. If you want to watch that video that I did a couple of weeks ago, which was everything that I'm having in a day, I will pop the link in the description so you can see my full day's worth of dieting. Firstly, I just want you to have a look at what I currently look like and what position I'm in after 10 months of cutting. So as you can see, I'm not the leanest guy at the moment, which I'll explain why, and I'm also not the best poser. So I think at this point, it's also important to mention that health and fitness shouldn't be navigated on how lean you get. Most of the time when you see people who are uber lean, you will think they are the most healthy. But at this point in my life and in their lives, it's probably the least healthy that I've been, which is kind of contradicting in the first place to what we're trying to achieve. Now the first and foremost important side effect that has come up from this cut for me is eating disorders or disorderly eating. And this for me is the most important part and probably the hardest for me to talk about, because I believe a lot of people within the health and fitness industry you probably look up to who are the leanest are basically just people who have eating disorders, anorexia, even bulimic, non-purge, bulimia, who are just basically in good shape because of those reasons. And I know it's particularly difficult for me to talk about because this 10 months worth of cutting has put me into some pretty bad routines again. And this is one of the first issues that I want to talk about. So my binges even eventually turned into something called NES, which is nighttime eating syndrome. So I'd usually get up at stupid o'clock at night. I'd go into the cupboards, be looking through the fridges, be looking for foods and not even really realize what was going on. And my biggest binge food is peanut butter. So I'd delve into the peanut butter at night, and then I'd wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night just feeling like absolute shit and not even really remembering what had gone on. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop up on this side kind of what on my fitness pal, because I used to sometimes insert them just for accountability of what I was having during a binge, the amount of calories I was having in a binge, because then the next day I'd also plan to either cut calories or I'd plan to then go and do more exercise. So it become this cycle, a binge eating cycle, where I'd cut down too far, over exercise to compensate for those calories that I'd eaten the day before, and then what that transpired into, my leptin and ghrelin levels were everywhere, some hormones were going everywhere, so that would then lead into another binge cycle again, which is really unhealthy and potentially dangerous. So when I say my calories are probably 1,700 per day, they're probably a lot higher over the week just because I was binge eating, so they're bringing those daily caloric intake up, which means I was having to exercise more and it was just getting into this horrible cycle. At the same time, I found myself getting to a point during the cut where basically every day I was just trying to get through it. I was constantly thinking about food and constantly thinking about the next meal. And what I was doing during this cut, and I've done it for the last 2 years, was fasting, and I find fasting great. Again, it's not a method which is for magical fat loss. It's just a way of you spreading your calories over a certain amount of period. But I think it gets to a period with fasting where there's a difference between using fasting to benefit your life and then there's using fasting just to save calories for later on, which I think almost enhances binge eating, because all you're doing is saving loads of calories up so you can binge later on. So you need to get that fine line between, are you fasting or are you just binging? Number 2, sleep. So sleep, I used to get a great night's sleep when I was in a maintenance and surplus, but since I've been cutting, I find myself really agitated at night, waking up a lot of the time. And what I've also had is dramatic sweating. So I'd literally wake up like in a pool of piss because I was soaked wet through. I'd get up and have to use a towel and dab myself down because I was that sweaty during the night. And then obviously I get up in the morning, I was training at like 6, 7 a.m. So my usual routine would be to get up, walk upstairs, go and make a coffee. And this is something else that you've got to be careful is caffeine levels. My caffeine was really creeping up just simply due to the fact that I was so tired in the day due to my calories being so low for so long. Number 3 is sex drive. Now, for me, this isn't something that particularly has affected me. I mean, a lot of things can affect your hormones and you've got to be careful when it comes to sex drive if that calorie deficit starts to become too much where your hormones are dropping or even where your energy levels are so low that you pretty much just can't get it up. So this is something again that you've got to get balance with, because if your goal and you're navigating your journey based on you want to be so lean to the point where now your sex drive's starting to suffer, which again as a guy is the main point of view pretty much being on earth, it's got to get that balance at some point of where things are getting too far and it's like, right, you need to just fuck it off, mate. Number 3 is energy and strength loss. So I'm going to talk more about my training at the moment. So my training split has pretty much been over the last few months push-pull legs, and then I do 2 weak point days. So that might be a chest training day specifically and another leg day. My training recently though has pretty much looked like this. It's basically got to a point with training where I'm just pretty much getting through the sessions. I don't even really want to be there. I'm looking at the clock, and my training's never like that. It's probably the most, for me, important part of health and fitness. That I love being in the gym, throwing shit around and moving weight. And the reason why I want to tell you this is because a lot of people look at my Instagram workouts and leave a comment like, bro, you look amazing, or you look in sick shape, or looking shredded. But it doesn't show the true story about what's really going on behind that, because through those sessions I was really struggling with energy levels, being tired, just trying to really grind through the workouts, which isn't usually me. Also, my lifts have gone down, my performance has gone down. The only thing that's really gone up is my cardiovascular fitness, because I'm doing so much of it. I'm doing 5 times 450 calories per day, most of it on the Stairmaster, and just getting to the point where I'm just trundling up stuff, just trying to bare my teeth and get through it. And this is a shitload of cardio, by the way, considering I don't usually do any, to having to come up to this point of doing 5 times 450 calories just to get weight off. The 5th and final thing that I want you to consider is your mindset and your mood, which is probably the most important thing. Now, if you're getting to a point like where you're grouchy and you're moody with people, especially with like friends, family, relationships and shit, you got to think to yourself again, is it really worth it? Am I getting that lifestyle balance where, because I want to be so lean, it's now affecting my family life, my loved ones and other people? Because I was getting to the point where it was, patience was like this thing, like I had no tolerance for anything. And that's not the person you want to be. You don't want to be hot-headed and stuff around people that you love. One thing it has done though, is probably made me more mentally resilient, because I've had to push myself so hard, and because I am in myself a person who basically won't give up. I'm very driven to succeed. It makes it even harder, because those days where I was binging, and then the next day push myself hard to get back on that track and be back within my calorie deficit, or something called non-purge bulimia, which is where you exercise to get calories back rather than sticking it up. I'd do that, so I'd push myself hard through cardio sessions to get there. And it's only through watching a guy called David Goggins, who runs like ultra marathons. He did like 100 miles to qualify for a marathon, then ran a marathon. He's got records of pull-ups and a load of other cool shit as well. And through watching him, it really made me understand that what I was going through really wasn't that difficult. But then at the same time, for your everyday person who just wants to be in better shape and get a little bit leaner, it's probably not that relatable to. Because at the end of the day, who wants to go through all that shit just to be a little bit lower body fat, unless you are someone who wants to compete? So, to conclude this video, I just want to leave you with some essential tips and pointers when it comes to weight loss, cutting and managing your wants and desires and your goals versus lifestyle balance, and basically just not fucking things up to the point where I have over the last couple of months. The first thing that I want you to remember is something that I like to call taking the extra chunk. So what this means is that you're trying to get ahead of the track. So if you've got a plan in front of you, something that you're going to stick to over like an 8, 12, 16 week window to lose weight manageably, you don't want to be cutting calories, doing extra cardio to try and get ahead of the game, because it's going to tip that balance and ultimately something's got to give. Now when it comes to nutrition, there's 2 different ways basically to do a cutting cycle, which you should be doing it. One is either like long and sustainable, so you lose weight over a measured period of time, and this may include things like treat meals, meals out. You're not as bothered as getting a result as efficiently as possible. You want something which is more lifestyle balanced, or alternatively you can do something which is called an aggressive cut. So what you might do is have like a 4-week window, do something where you're in an aggressive caloric deficit, and in between that period or at the end of that 4-week period, you may either have a refeed day or you may have a diet break, which is where you bring your caloric intake back up to around the maintenance level for like a 1 or 2 week window, just so that you can get your hormones back up to a normal level, give your central nervous system a rest, and just replenish some energy. Now the problem that I had was that I mixed these two combinations together of a long cut and aggressive. So I was aggressive for almost like a 10-month window, and this is generally just where you fuck shit up. So my advice would just be to pick one or the other. Third thing, training. What we want to do is do and make sure that we are focused on progressively overloading your lifts, getting better in the gym, because that's the whole point of it. You don't want to be getting to a point like I was where you're regressing, your lifts are going down, you're feeling weak, your energy's lower. If you feel like your performance is taking a shitter, then that should be a good indication for you, and now for me, to take a step back and really analyse, is what you're doing worth it to get that extra couple of pounds off, or to lose that extra little bit of body fat percentage. On this topic of measurements, also one thing that I stopped doing during this cutting phase a couple months ago was measuring my weight, just because I was fluctuating so much from having the extra foods, from binge eating. It was massively just fucking around the head. So I advise anyone who isn't mentally strong enough or gets put off by a fluctuation on the scale, which is going to happen in any weight loss journey, nothing's going to be completely linear, just to not weigh yourself. Going off progress images, a couple of videos, and how you feel is going to be far more accurate. In essence, this cutting period has taught me quite a lot, even though it has had a lot of negative effects. And I basically want to warn people that is it really worth it, and some of the dangers of cutting and that it can have on your life and on others. Now I've currently got a doctor's appointment booked in for next week, just to basically have a full MOT, check over my hormones, blood work, anything and everything else that has possibly been affected, including my sleep cycle. And what I'll be doing next week when I go to Australia is documenting my journey with my food, with my calories, what I'm doing, and as I go into a reverse dieting period, to bring my calories back up and obviously restore my hormones, get my energy back to where it needs to be, and just enjoying training again. It gives me, this time in Australia, almost some time to get back to normality and stop seeing food for numbers, calories, macros, and start seeing it for what it actually is. Because living off fuck all food and running yourself into the ground and feeling guilty for having a Mars bar isn't health and fitness. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But it's the type of shit that you won't hear or see behind those big smiley grins or those six-pack abs of your fitness inspos or Instagrammers. Because we all strive to be better, feel better, look better, but at the end of the day, the end point of that destination and that journey has got to be healthier and feel better in yourself. Now, if you found this video helpful, guys, or you can relate to anything that I've been speaking about today, then obviously please drop this video a like and a massive thumbs up. If you've got any questions that you want to drop over, of course, drop them below. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, then please make sure to subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next video.